Hello, I'm Marcus Brix with the CattleFax Closing Bell. Today's Closing Bell is sponsored by CattleFax, the deciding factor. Market reactions were mixed as economic data related to inflation dropped earlier week. U.S. retail spending rebounded 3% in January, finding the top end of market expectations. Retail data is not adjusted for inflation, although it wasn't inflation at the consumer level which caught the market's attention, but rather producer price inflation at the wholesale level. The Producer Price Index rose 0.7% for the month of January, exceeding the Dow Jones forecast for a 0.4% increase. Inflation at the wholesale level is often passed through to the consumer with higher prices as value becomes added to products along different stages of the supply chain. For example, in the fourth quarter last year, CocaCola raised prices for their products and also made cuts to package size. A consumer is not buying a drink from Coca-Cola directly, but rather from a distributor who bought either packaging by the case or in a raw concentrate form. In Q4 2022, Coca-Cola sold 1% less case volumes than the year prior. However, due to the changes in pricing and packaging, Coca-Cola revenues were up 7 to 10% depending on the product. At the consumer level, the price point was likely an unnoticeable change, but the shrinkflation aspect means that cost was indeed higher per volume and passed through. Consumer price data for January showed a 6.4% year-over-year inflation, with prices rising 0.5% month over month. The inflation trend is visibly eased since the 9% high last June, with the January numbers still wide year-over-year, but also at its lowest since October 21. Food inflation was at 10.1% year-over-year in January. Egg prices saw the highest change for a single food item, with prices 70% higher year-over-year. Other food items with considerable inflation were butter and oils, showing a 32.5% year-over-year gain last month. Beef prices were a tick lower in January, with the all-fresh retail beef price averaging down just 8 cents to $7.20 per pound. In the markets this week, live cattle continued their seasonal push higher. February live cattle futures moved roughly $2 per hundredweight higher this week, marking the third week of higher spot prices. April live cattle moved $1 higher this week to reach a new contract highs above $1.65 per hundredweight. In the cash, light to moderate trade took place in the north between $1.59 and $1.62 live and $2.54 to $2.57 dressed, steady to $3 higher versus last week. Trade volumes have not yet been established in the south, but cattle feeders are anticipating at least $2 higher. Thanks for watching. Remember to visit CattleFax.com, become a member, or see the latest market news and analysis.